Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing very well. Today we're going to look at how dangerous to the US could it have been if the Soviets had pursued the idea of Arsenal Q-ships during the Cold War. First, let's look at how we got here. A few weeks ago we did this video, US surface Arsenal ships versus multiple or 25 Soviet warships. Here we were looking at the idea that in the 1980s America planned to convert large surface freighter ships into missile-carrying Arsenal ships with hundreds of missiles, made possible by the introduction of the RGM-109 Tomahawk long-range cruise missile. In the end, the project was scrapped. It was deemed just too expensive and the ships too difficult to deploy tactically and to keep safe. But interestingly, they did create 4 submarine Arsenal ships. 4 Ohio-class submarines were converted to carry more than 100 Tomahawks each, and although that was done a long time ago, sometimes I have to pinch myself to think how amazing it is that they did that, and of course they've seen action in real life. Anyway, back on topic. So that video was using a theoretical US surface Arsenal ship versus Soviet warships. You guys have asked it for the other way round. A Soviet surface Arsenal ship versus an American surface action group. So the first thing I had to do was search for a suitable Soviet Arsenal ship, and this is what I found. It's the Project 2498, and it's a Q ship. A bit of history about Q ships. They were heavily armed merchant ships with concealed weaponry, designed to lure submarines into making surface attacks. This gave Q ships the chance to open fire and sink them. They were used by the British and the German navies during the First World War, and the British, German, Japanese and American navies during the Second World War. Though legally recognised as an acceptable tactic of military deception, they have attracted much controversy and historically achieved only marginal success. Q-ships have not been used by navies since World War II, but here with the Project 2498 we can ask what if the Soviets had pursued the Q-ship idea in the Cold War. So let's look at the ship. It looks identical to that ship there, which is a freighter, but this one has concealed weapons and it's quite amazing really. In terms of offense, it has 32 SSN-19, so P-700 shipwreck missiles. It's the type of missile you'd see on a Kirov battlecruiser, surface-to-surface long-range missile. For defense, it has 72 SA-9M Gauntlet close-range missiles, as well as 21 SAN-6 Grumble or S-300F fort system, some ASW decoys, and apparently 4 20mm Seaways, although I can't see them. Cunningly disguised behind an innocent facade. In terms of what we're actually going to do today, we are in the Barents Sea. Let's say it's 1985. The Soviets are going to try and lure an American surface action group into a trap. So what we've got here is an American submarine and a Soviet Alpha-class submarine. Now, it wasn't uncommon at all in the Cold War for Soviet and American and other coalition submarines to clash and run kind of fake skirmishes. It's really interesting reading about what happened under the waters in the Cold War. So we're going to say that this Alpha and this Los Angeles have found each other, they've had a bit of a flirt, a bit of a fake dogfight, and then they've moved away from each other as they would. But then the Alpha turns towards the Los Angeles and does a full Crazy Ivan, charges towards the Los Angeles and is going to fire a torpedo at it. This is going to be part of the deception ploy. The Los Angeles, detecting that a torpedo may have been fired from its baffles, is going to be filled with ambiguity. What's going on? Has it actually been fired on? It's going to sprint to periscope depth, it's going to deploy its mast, and it's going to flash a signal to American command. What's its ROE? What's it supposed to do? The US command is then going to direct in a cruiser SAG that just happens to be in the Barents operating on a different mission to basically come and sort the problem out. And that's when the Soviets will strike with their concealed Q ship. Alright, so let's run it. So, unpause. Alpha, you sir, are going to have a pop at that Los Angeles. So they've had a nice little faux dogfight, and then fire! It's in the baffles, so there's a lot of ambiguity with the Los Angeles about what's happening. So they're going to go up, they're going to flash their signal, and the cruiser group, led by the mighty C-Cube aka Cube Face, aka Long Beach, which just is such an amazing ship. I'm going to make best speed to the Altercation. They're also going to have a Ticonderoga. They're also going to have another CGN, a California. Also going to have an OHP ASW FFG, and they're going to have an Adams. At this point, we're going to set the trap. So here we have a merchant sea lane, commonly used by all sorts of merchant ships. But our guy is holding a little surprise. Now, to fire our surface-to-surface missiles, we have to know the exact coordinates of the American SAG. So the first thing we're going to do is deploy our helicopters. So we've got 3 of those there. Don't want to arm them. And go. They're going to use their radars to find the SAG. Cunningly concealed. Speed that up. Deploy rotors. Off they go. Alright. So, we know the rough location of the SAG, but only plus or minus 20 miles, and that's not good enough for firing. So we're going to get these guys out low level towards where we think that SAG might be. Off they go. Speed that up. When did we start? We started at 1000 Zulu hours. In fact, what's happening with the submarines? I completely forgot. The great thing about submarine warfare is it literally takes forever. So by the time that torpedo even starts to aggress on that Los Angeles, I'd imagine the rest of the mission will probably be over. Out of interest, it's a set 65 at 40 knots. Thus far, Los Angeles doesn't seem to give a monkeys about it. Anyway, back on with the helicopters. These helicopters, of course, have surface search radar. They have the ability to find surface vessels and then send that telemetry, or just that lat long, back to our mothership, who can then launch her missiles. Alright, within 40 miles, that should be good enough to find a big cruiser. Up they go. They're going to quickly pop up. The Americans have no idea this is happening at the moment. They'll briefly see the helicopters on their radar as they pop up over the horizon. They're going to turn their surface search radars on. Quite quickly, they're going to find the telemetry of the of Cube Face and Co. They're going to flash that back to our mothership. Then they're going to get back down and go back home. With the lat long, let's get the right one. We can now send out our missiles. So let's go and fire some freaking P700s. Let's fire them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at this giant kind of rudimentary VLS set appears from our Q ship. Look at that. Look at the size of these missiles. Look, that's a window there. Look at the size of these missiles. Amazing. Great mod, by the way. Look at the rate of fire on it. It's crazy. Would you be able to launch these missiles like that? Absolutely not. Those rocket motors will be so hot they'll burn the missiles behind them. It doesn't really matter. It's all good. Now the problem with these missiles is look at their trajectory. If I can actually see them, they've gone straight up. And they're going to be easily spotted by Cube Face's radars. And what Cube Face can do now, look at them go. Amazing. What Cube Face can do now, or the American SAG, is essentially triangulate the position of the origin of those missiles, and they're going to be able to fire back immediately. So, American SAG, let's get this guy. They're going to say, oh my god, we've just seen what's happened. 30 plus missiles have been fired at us. We've seen where they originated from. They can't see the hostile vessel, but they know it originates from around there, so they can just launch on a lat long their missiles, which is what they're going to do now. All carrying 8 RGM-84s, obviously. Standard issue American weapon in the Cold War. And off they go. Now the problem with the Q-ship is that it's never really designed to survive this engagement. It's designed to do maximum damage to the Americans, but it's not a proper warship. Okay, nearly there. Right, let's see how that does. In fact, here's a question for you viewers, if I just pause it for a second, if I don't need to. The Americans have just fired on a known lane used by merchant shipping. What would happen if this happened for real life? In fact, I will pause it. If the American SAG detected that 32 missiles have been fired, probably against them, would their ROE allow them to fire radar-guided missiles into an area where they know there's going to be merchant shipping? Because remember how those missiles work. They can't see this vessel here because it's over the horizon. Those missiles will go to a pre-programmed lat long, they'll turn their radars on, and they'll just search for a ship, and they'll blow a ship up, which could easily be a real merchant ship. Would they be allowed to do that? Really interesting question. Anyway, P700s. I should take this time to apologise for my cold viewers. Got a really nasty cold at the moment, but it's okay. Oh look, they're going to pass the... oh, hello, what's that? SM2. So defence is coming out. Against the P700s. SAG desperately trying to defend itself. Look at that. This game's so cool. Guns coming. P700s organise themselves into 3 hunter-killer groups, 10 per group. What can we do? Furious and frantic defence, but problem with supersonic coordinated missiles is they're very hard to defend against. That one's been duped. That one's not been duped. Boom. C-Cube hit. Everyone's been hit. Everyone's been hit. And look, there's more missiles coming in. Jesus, this guy's going to get it. Oof. Wow. Talk about overkill. All 5 vessels destroyed. But there may be some Rwenge. Let's get these guys to go and land. In fact, we need to get the chuff out of it. In fact, what happened to the submarine? Completely forgot. Oh, nothing. Alright, well, we can run away now anyway. So, down, very deep. Noisemaker, run. He just stood there and took it. Right, we've got to get our guys back aboard. Recover all, yes please. And get the chuff out of there. Go, 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 go. Max speed. Right, we need to turn our radar on now because we've got to defend ourselves. Radar on, surface search radar on. Active sonar on, everything on. I haven't seen where the Seawiz or the defensive missiles are yet. Right. One last look at the American SAG. It is a miserable sight. But Rwenge is coming. Q-ship getting the chuff out of here. South, run away. Trying to hide behind a real merchant. Helicopters inbound. Harpoons nearly reached the lat long where they're going to turn their radars on. Speed that up. And why is our guy not... Aha! More transforming, look. What the hell? There's the radars. And the missile. Wow. Ah, there's the 4. That's clever. Very clever. CS300's going in. Now, what are those harpoons actually going to go for? They're going to go for the right ship even. Yes, they are. Not today. Defend yourself, Q ship. Gauntlets. Doing whatever the hell's going on there. I have no idea. Oh, they got through. Yeah, gonna happen. There's the Sea Whistler. They just pop out these little hatches. That's so fun. No civilian friendly fire. Look, this guy's completely safe. And it's sunk. Anyway, viewers, just a nice little fun look at, you know, what could have happened or something the Soviets could have used with armed Q ships during the Cold War. I invite your comments. I hope you enjoyed it, and bye bye.